I'm Jillian, 29. Standing in the middle of Aunt Margaret's living room, I watch as the family's united front shatters before my eyes. My parents, Richard and Carol, stand cornered, their faces pale and their eyes filled with shock and disbelief. The weight of their financial manipulation over the years has finally caught up with them, and I'm the one who's exposed it. It all started a few months ago when I woke up to three banking notifications on my phone. At first, I thought it was just my morning routine, sipping coffee in my cozy Denver apartment before heading to work. But as I unlocked the screen, my heart sank. $4,200. $4,200. $4,200. Three identical charges. I knew right away that something was wrong. I called the bank's fraud department and reported the transactions. The representative asked me if I knew who might have made the charges, and I hesitated for only a moment. Yes, I said. It's identity theft committed by a family member. The words hung in the air, and I could feel the weight of what I was saying. Filing a police report against my own parents was not something I ever thought I'd have to do, but I knew I had to protect myself. As I delved deeper into the investigation, I discovered a pattern of financial abuse that spanned years. My parents had been using my credit card and personal information to fund their lavish lifestyle, all while pretending to be financially stable. They had taken out loans in my name, maxed out my credit cards, and even used my identity to open new accounts. I remembered the times when my parents would pressure me to help them out financially, saying that it was my duty as a daughter to support them. I would always give in, feeling guilty for not doing more. But now I realized that their requests were not out of love or need, but out of greed and manipulation. One night, as I was going through my bank statements, I found an old email from my mother. It was a message she had sent me a few years ago, asking me to help her pay for a family vacation. At the time, I had agreed, thinking that it was a way to show my love and support for my family. But now I realized that it was all part of their plan. I also remembered the family gatherings, where my parents would brag about their expensive cars, their designer clothes, and their luxurious vacations. I would always feel envious, thinking that they had it all. But now, I realized that it was all a facade. They were living beyond their means, and they were using me to fund their lifestyle. As I continued to gather evidence, I became more and more determined to expose my parents' lies. I knew that it would be difficult, but I also knew that it was the right thing to do. I wanted to protect myself and my future, and I wanted to send a message to my parents that their behavior was not acceptable. Finally, the day of the family meeting arrived. I walked into Aunt Margaret's house, feeling nervous, but also determined. I knew that it was going to be a difficult conversation, but I was ready to face my parents and tell them the truth. As I sat down at the table, I could feel the tension in the room. My parents were sitting across from me, their faces expressionless. The rest of the family was sitting around the table, looking at me with a mixture of curiosity and concern. I took a deep breath and began to speak. I'm here today to talk to you about something that has been weighing on my mind for a long time. For years, my parents have been using my credit card and personal information to fund their lavish lifestyle. They have taken out loans in my name, maxed out my credit cards, and even used my identity to open new accounts. I have evidence to prove it, and I'm ready to share it with you. There was a moment of silence in the room. Then my mother spoke up. Jillian, what are you talking about? We would never do something like that. You must be mistaken. I looked at my mother, my eyes filled with anger and disappointment. I'm not mistaken, Mom. I have the evidence to prove it. And I'm not the only one who has been affected. Aunt Margaret, you had a $2,500 charge on your credit card that you didn't authorize. Cousin Tom, you had a loan taken out in your name that you never knew about. And Uncle Dave, you had a credit card opened in your name that you never applied for.
This is not just about me.
It's about all of us. My father stood up, his face red with anger. Jillian, you're being ridiculous. You're just trying to cause trouble. We're your parents and we love you. You need to stop this nonsense right now. I looked at my father, my eyes filled with determination. I'm not being ridiculous, Dad. I'm telling the truth. And I'm not going to stop until you take responsibility for your actions. You have been lying to me and to the rest of the family for years, and it's time for it to stop." The room fell silent again. Then, Aunt Margaret stood up. "Jillian, I believe you. And I think it's time for us to take action. We need to support you and help you get through this." One by one, the rest of the family stood up and expressed their support for me. They were shocked and angry, but they also knew that it was time for them to stand up for what was right. My parents sat there, their faces pale and their eyes filled with shame. They knew that they had been caught, and they had no way to defend themselves. In the end, my parents were forced to admit their guilt. They agreed to pay back the money they had stolen and to cooperate with the police investigation. It was a difficult and painful process, but I knew that it was the right thing to do. As I walked out of Aunt Margaret's house that day, I felt a sense of relief and liberation. I had finally broken free from my parents' control, and I was ready to move on with my life. It's been a few months since that day, and things have changed a lot. I've been working hard to rebuild my credit and to regain my financial stability. I've also been spending more time with my new family, the one that I've created for myself. I've learned that love and respect are not just words, they are actions. And if you want to have a healthy and happy relationship with someone, you need to treat them with kindness, honesty, and respect. I know that there will always be challenges and obstacles in life, but I'm ready to face them head on. I'm stronger and more resilient than I ever thought I could be, and I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned. As I sit here in my apartment, looking out at the city, I know that my future is bright. I have a newfound sense of confidence and purpose, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.